Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV, where we speak life into the moments that matter. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and today we're talking about a topic that every man needs to know. This is something that every man needs to hear. We're talking about men's health, especially after the age of 40. Things happen physiological, sometimes psychological to our bodies as we age. So today's episode is check yourself. Don't wreck yourself. Men's health over 40 right here on Born to Speak to You TV. We'll be right back.
Of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold.
And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and man, we have a serious topic for you today. Today's topic is called, this episode is called, Check Yourself, Don't Wreck Yourself, Men's Health After 40. And I have a very special guest with me today. I want to tell you a little bit about him as well. I've known Andy Feltovich for it's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Man, I would say probably a little over 10 years or so, maybe getting close to that. But Andy is a person that is first of all, he's the owner of Feltovich Fit, and his mission is all about transforming not just the body but the belief system behind it. And I want to ask you to please welcome my guest, Andy Feltovich.
Well, thank you, Calvin. It's a great honor to be here, and I want to start off on a personal note. I want to thank you for your mentorship over the years as we were coming up in Toastmasters together, as I was an aspiring professional speaker. And also want to thank you for your friendship. You're not one of those guys who just calls me when the sun is shining and you need something. You've been with me through my darkest days, so thank you.
Absolutely. That's what we try to do here with Born to Speak to You is, where there's darkness, where there's a need, we shine a light into the moments that matter. So you are quite welcome, my friend. And again, it's good to have you here. And we're going to jump right into it. We're going to speak life into the body that carries you through the moments that matter. We're just gonna jump into the deep end with this and start talking about mindset and motivation. So, Andy, what inspired you to create Feltovich Fit, and how did your personal journey shape your passion for men's health?
Well, how much time do you have? I guess I'll give you the abbreviated story. So, in my early 30s, I started to have health problems. I was obese. I was pre-hypertensive. My cholesterol was almost up to 300 because I was doing all the things that young up-and-coming bankers do. I was putting in long hours, paying my dues. It was during the global financial crisis, and I was just totally neglecting my health. So the doctor took me out to the woodshed and he said, "Son, right now you're a young man and the conversation is what you should be doing. 10 years from now, if you're still alive, the conversation is going to be what you should have done." So I took his feedback to heart, started training very seriously, started doing it semi-professionally alongside my day job as a banker. And then fast forward 10 years to early this year, a lot of events coalesced and gave me the confidence to take the plunge and do this full time.
Hmm.
One of which was my father passed away this year, January of this year, due to poor lifestyle choices, and which occurred only 6 days apart from me turning 46. So those two events brought my mortality into perspective and made me think, what do I want to do with the second half of my life? And I just put all the data points together and stirred them in a pot. And I said, well, where do you have the most experience, the most credibility? And that's helping similar men, 40-plus-year-old men who need to balance the demands of a demanding work schedule with their health and performance goals.
Okay. Okay. So now let's speak life into health because every moment matters. I'll be honest with you. When I turned 40, I thought I was still invincible. Okay. I remember that time. I figured I got a few gray hairs, a little slower sprint up the steps. They were just signs of distinguished maturity. But then reality hit. I started noticing that I wasn't sleeping as well. My energy dipped halfway through the day. My jeans started shrinking. At least that's what I told myself. And then one day I looked in the mirror and realized something important. I had been speaking life into everybody else's dreams, but I wasn't taking care of myself, my own health. I was motivating others while I was neglecting the very body that I needed to carry me through my moments that mattered, my work, my speeches, my family, my purpose. And that's when I decided actually that I needed to start eating better, uh, getting proper sleep, because strength isn't just about muscle, it's about mindset. I believe it all starts with mindset. I've listened and to some of your speeches. I've read a lot of your postings on social media, and I believe in most things, it all starts with the mindset. So, my next question for you, Andy, we're still in mindset and motivation. Why do you think that men just neglect their health until something goes wrong?
Excellent question. There's a few things going on there, Calvin. One of which is that coping mechanisms work until they don't.
Mm,
And you start finding those chinks in the armor about 40 years old. The armor just plain wears down. And also there's a few special idiosyncratic things going on with men's health, which is why I focus on men's health because of their special needs. In our society, we like to pathologize maleness and masculinity. So men, they're not averse to getting help because they're stubborn. They're averse to getting help because they're men. So two of the pillars of masculinity are the burdens of competence and performance. So know stuff, do stuff. So admitting that you need help is tantamount to somebody revoking your man card. So saying that you need help, and especially an area is intertwined with maleness and masculinity as health and physical prowess is especially difficult. Admitting that you don't know how to do a bench press properly, that's tantamount to saying you don't know how to change a tire. It's, no self-respecting man could ever bring himself to do that. Uh, so that's why it's so hard for men to admit that they have problems with their health and performance and to seek help for their health and performance.
okay, so to me, it sounds like it's not just a mental barrier, it's also an emotional barrier, perhaps a psychological barrier,
A
a macho,
spirit,
a macho barrier. Could we say that too?
a spiritual and existential barrier because it goes to the heart of whether or not you're a man,
Okay.
which you which you are. And the way that we deal with the problem is leadership. So one of the and you when we got on this when you invited me to be a guest, you warned me against going off on the tangents and stories that I'm famous for. So now I'm going to go on one of the tangents and stories you warned me about. The oldest question in history is leadership. It
Hmm.
does leadership matter? Going back to all the way to the ancient Greeks, the Thucydides, the Peloponnesian War. If Pericles lives, do the Athenians win the Peloponnesian War? And that's leadership is the oldest question in history, and I think getting them to seek help. It's a question of leadership. The leaders in our political leaders in our churches, leaders in our communities need to take that first step and say it's okay to get help. It's okay to admit that you have a problem.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that, Andy. We're going to take a little break right here. And when we come back, we're going to dive a little deeper into fitness and lifestyle. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and we'll be back in 60 seconds. This is Calvin Gibbs, and this is the segment we like to call Born to Rise. I'd rather have an enemy who admits they hate me instead of a friend who secretly puts me down. Yes, I would rather have somebody that says, Calvin, I do not like you, because I know where that person's coming from. They're being honest. They're being truthful. I know which category to put them in. But when you have a friend who secretly puts you down behind your back, say they got your back when they're talking to you, facing you, and then secretly behind your back, they're talking about you, they're laughing at you, they're hoping you don't be successful. Now, give me the enemy. Give me the enemy any day that admits that they hate my guts instead of a friend, or what I perceive to be a friend, who secretly puts me down. That's your tip for today. This is Born to Rise, and I'm Calvin Gibbs. This is Born to Speak to You TV.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and my guest today is Andy Feltovich. And we're talking about check yourself, don't wreck yourself, men's health after 40. Now, we just talked about some mindset and motivation type information. Next, I want to move more into the fitness and lifestyle. So, Andy, what is one fitness myth that you wish that aging men would stop believing? Just one.
That they've got a handle on this, that they've got it covered, that they don't have problems, which is so absurd to me, because I've been doing this at the highest levels with the world's top experts and thought leaders for over a decade. And I've got pain points. I've got areas of confusion, areas that I struggle with. So this notion that someone is this weekend warrior dilettante, that he managed to figure it out in his spare time with no training, is just absurd. No, it's like any other area of your life that's consequential to you. Your taxes, your medical, your legal, you get the help of experts. And if you're smart, hopefully good experts. So that's the myth that irks me the most.
Okay. Well, as far as working out, in your professional experience, or your expertise, how does a man workout routine need to change when he's over 40?
So there's a couple issues that everyone needs to do, and there's a couple that are specific to men over 40. So first, what everybody needs to do is just get back to basics. So
Mm,
simple, compound, functional movements, squats, presses, pulls, the things that, going back to the Roman gladiators, the things that worked for them. Get back to those basics. We just got too fancy with all these darn cables and machines and vibration, balance ball, Pilates, cryo, whatever. So yeah, that's what everyone needs to do, is get back to basics. And specifically for men over 40, is you need to start paying serious attention to posture and mobility,
mm,
because until now, a lot of us have been posting on youth and genetics, but that's when the warm-ups, the mobility, the preventative maintenance, the corrective posture exercises really come into play. Because if we don't start addressing those, then you're going to get that vicious downward spiral. You get posture and problems, mobility problems, and then you start compensating for those. Then those compensations cause further problems, and you start that vicious downward spiral until you end up like my dad. He spent the last 3 years of his life bedbound. He looked like a concentration camp survivor. So those are the
wow.
things to get serious about.
Okay. Well, if a guy hasn't worked out in years, let's say, where should he realistically start?
Excellent question. Well, that it's think of it. Everybody everybody's on the same train to the same path. So where you get on the train, where you get off, that varies. But everybody's on the same train. So maybe that guy who hasn't trained in several years, he's got to start at the first station. So getting, but it's all the same. These again, these functional basic movements, squats, pulls, presses, with free weights. You start there, and sometimes in you to use some fitness and exercise specific lingo, we have regression and progression options. So if I have, and I've worked with elderly clients, if I've got uh, grandma and grandpa with his walker, I don't just load up a barbell and tell him to squat it, but still we can start off with those functional movements, meet him where he is, start with just uh, body weight squats to the depth that he can go, and progressively work our way down. And from there, the sky's the limit. So back to our train analogy, maybe you need to get on at the first station, and but maybe you don't need to go all the way to the end. But if you do want to go to that final station, you can get there. I've seen remarkable transformation stories. People, literally, senior citizens, grandparents, they take up resistance training for the first time after retirement age, and they go on to become bodybuilders and competitive weightlifters. So if you want to take that train all the way to the last station, you can do that.
Okay. Now I want to regress a little bit and talk about the young guys because when I was in my late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, uh, the guys in my neighborhood being we all like pump weights, we all did push-ups on the park bench, we uh did the reverse push-ups and we had competitions who could do the most push-ups, things like that. And somebody would bring a weight bench out into the yard and we're trying to pump iron. Now our um, golden rule was you should be able to lift at least your weight. If you couldn't lift your weight, you was like a sissy boy, you know what I mean? So if you weighed 150, had never lifted weights before, you're down there trying to bench press 150 pounds, and you could ultimately hurt yourself because you're not used to that type of resistance. As you get older and you put more weight on, I feel that rule kind of goes out the window. you know, if you now weigh 180, you should not start with 180. You still should start with maybe your true weight when you was in your 20s, 130 pounds, something like that. What do you think about that?
there's an expression, and it actually came from one of my mentors. So I've worn many hats in my life. I used to work in politics, worked for a state senator, and one of his mottos that he instilled in me was check your ego at the door. And with any of life's endeavors, health and performance included, you either check your ego at the door and listen to your body, or you end up with cool scars and medical bills. And I learned that the hard way. So that's a perfectly legitimate goal, is to be able to press or lift your body weight, or more than your body weight, or multiples of your body weight. But back to that train, you need to be deadly realistic about which station you're getting on at, and which station you want to get off at, and what it's going to take to get you from point A to point B.
Okay. Now, this next question is a little bit humorous. I remember a couple Thanksgivings ago sitting around with the men in my family. We made jokes about dad bods, and the common consensus among us was, it's okay to have a dad bod as long as you're in good health. So is a dad bod, in your opinion, a badge of honor, or is it a warning sign?
So first off, Calvin, I need to talk about fat shaming and how we treat the obese in society. It's just a damn shame how in this modern age how cruel we are to the obese. And to give you an example, there was a friend of mine. He was obese, lost a lot of weight, and then after losing weight, he went to one of our African American acquaintances and said, "Now I know how racism feels, to have somebody judge you by who you are." And so we need to, but even though I'm very adamant, as you can probably tell, about fat shaming and not to do it, at the same time, I'm not going to be part of this celebrate obesity movement. Obesity is a disease. It is nearly 100% preventable, and it kills people. Now that said, it is not the have all and be all of health. There are obviously, if a person is obese or overweight, the science is quite clear. One of the first things that you can do to improve your long-term health outcomes, your all-cause mortality, is to reduce your body fat percentage, and we can quibble about the ideal ranges. But beyond that, there's things that you can do in the interim, and don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. So as you're working towards those weight loss, those fat loss goals, which realistically can take months or years, depending on how severe the problem is, while you're working toward those goals, don't let your other areas of health and performance be neglected and fall off. Do what you can in the interim.
Okay. Well, I must say that among my older uncles and cousins, they were totally cool with the dad bod. It was a hilarious conversation that we had. And as I said, one of my uncles, he was like, well, I got this little belly hanging over my belt, but I just got finished eating, and I'm healthy. I can take any of you young whippersnappers down. I was like, okay, cool. So anyway, thank you for that answer, Andy. We're going to take a little break right here. And when we come back, we're going to finish the conversation up with Andy, and we're going to talk about nutrition and recovery next. I'm Calvin Gibbs. This is Born to Speak to You TV. And here is the segment we like to call Born to Rise. I often get asked, how do I get motivated? What motivates me? Well, I want to let you know that your biggest source of motivation are your own thoughts. So think big. The bigger you think, the more you can motivate yourself, not only to win, but to help somebody else, to make your dreams turn into goals, turn into success. So the biggest source of motivation is right up here. Your own thoughts. Own them, embrace them, love them because they're yours, and motivate yourself.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and we are having a great conversation today with Andy Feltovich on Check Yourself, Don't Wreck Yourself, Men's Health After 40. Now, we've already talked about the mindset, motivation, fitness, and lifestyles, but I want to talk a little bit about nutrition and recovery because I know both are very, very important. So, Andy, what are some foods that men over 40 should eat more of, and what should they leave behind in their 30s?
Well, I hope I don't disappoint you with my answer, Calvin, because like other most of the rest of my philosophy, my approach to nutrition is really downright boring and simple. It's just getting back to basics, and a lot of this came from my study of history, the physical culture movements of the 18th and 19th century. There were men like Eugene Sandow, for which the Mr. Olympia trophy is named. These guys achieved remarkable feats of strength and physiques before, without any of these modern fad diets, without even counting calories. They didn't even know what a calorie was back then. And they did it by eating clean. So they didn't eat processed food. They didn't eat junk. They didn't eat too much. And they ate a lot of protein. And that's really it. And that's the approach I take today. So people ask me what I eat. I eat food. It's not processed. It's not processed. It's high in fiber and protein. But other than that, the sky's the limit. What's your so for example, as you know, I gave a speech at your Toastmasters club, Diversity for Success, which I'm very honored to be a part of, a predominantly African American audience, and I got asked a similar question: how do I eat better? And I said, dust off grandma's old cookbooks, the African American culinary tradition, one of the great culinary traditions of the world. And it has a lot of elements that are neglected in the modern diet. So you had chitlins and giblets, organ meat. You had a lot of cartilage, so gelatin, cartilage. That's the big rage. Well, just go back, eat some pig ears, some pig's feet. Get it naturally. Make those bone broths with all those bits we throw away today. So that's my approach in a nutshell. And other than that, the sky's the limit. What cuisine? What tickles you? Latin, Chinese, Japanese, Eastern European, my ancestry. Any of those ancestral cuisines can fit into my approach.
Okay, and of course, greens and veggies
Yes.
are included in that. I asked this question of you because I saw your posting on social media last week where you answered the same question. I thought I was going to maybe get a variation of it, but you stuck to your gun. You said basically the same thing that you posted on that social media site. So yeah, very good, very good with that. So as far as men managing, um, let's say energy, sleep, and stress, especially with the lifestyles we have, busy lives, family obligations, work requirements. Although that's another episode of another show for another day. How can men manage energy, sleep, and stress a little better?
Okay. Well, a few. I have my screen framework, which is how I approach men's performance. So screen, spirituality, cognition, recovery, environment, exercise, and nutrition. And recovery is one of the pillars. Pillar is a key word. You can't just pick and choose your pillars, not unless you want the building to fall down. And within recovery, I actually break it down further. So sleep is top of stream. If you're not sleeping and you don't wake up feeling refreshed, you're not doing it right. So you need to be able to fall asleep at a similar time every night without pharmacological assistance, booze, over-the-counter drugs, prescription drugs. Wake up at a similar time every day and feel refreshed. So we can nerd out on sleep tracking devices and wearables and data, but that's the bottom line. Do you wake up in the morning without an alarm clock, without excessive reliance on stimulants, and feel refreshed? So sleep, after that, you got to unplug. So problem with modern society is that we want an app to solve all our problems, but apps are the problem. So you got to unplug. You got to get away from that constant electronic stimulation. And also, you got recreation. So, as I say, you need to be deadly serious about not being deadly serious. So, whatever you do, I use the term destinationless activities. So when you go for a walk in the park, I'm not going for a particular distance. I'm not going for a particular time. I'm not judging my performance by how many birds I see or count. It's a destinationless activity. So as all good recreation should be. And then finally, the last sub pillar of the recovery pillar is mindfulness. So I might have seen some of my posts about that. Modern society puts us in perpetual fight or flight mode. And when you are in fight or flight mode, it is physiologically impossible to achieve any of your health and other health and performance goals, growth, healing, recovery, learning. So the only way to get out of fight or flight mode is to actively reset your nervous system. And you do that with breath work. So yoga is an excellent example, mindfulness, meditation, and even music. There's a reason that we as cultures and societies have been playing music as soon as we could bang two rocks together rhythmically. So the other component is mindfulness, and then nutrition. Again, that's another important component of recovery. If you're not eating right, including hydration, you're not gonna recover mentally and physically from anything else you do.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. When I was finished college, I was probably in my middle 20s. Life was good. I was cut. I was doing 3 a days, 2 a days, going to the gym, Jack LaLanne gym back in those days.
Yeah,
And, and I used to live in downtown Brooklyn. So I would walk across the Brooklyn Bridge to Wall Street. It was like three miles.
yeah, that's a jaunt.
Yeah, yeah. And I walked it in like an hour, 3 miles an hour. Nice jaunt. I would go work out, carrying my suit and everything because I worked on Wall Street, and I would work out, shower there, go to work. Sometimes I would go back to the gym at lunchtime. Sometimes I would wait till the ride until the walk going back home in the evening because I had to pass by the gym again. I go in the gym, work out, go back across the bridge, 3 more miles, go home. Um, Play ball, basketball, handball, eat, and life was good. I couldn't gain any weight. I tried. I couldn't. I couldn't gain any weight. My weight stayed constant. I had a lot of energy. I slept well. I didn't have any stress. I was single. Uh, just had my apartment. That's all I had to take care of. And I remember my um, one of the managers I had was a former Marine sergeant, and he used to always, check me out in the morning. Go into his office. He's checking my shoes out, checking my tie out, and make sure I'm spit polished and everything. And he was like, everybody else around here is stressed out, and Gibbs, you're never upset about anything. I was like, yeah, because I work out, I eat well, I have no stress. I have no problems. You guys paid me a nice salary. I'm good. So, yeah. And then you get older and things start changing. I think a lot of times the mindset, we let things get into our heads. Um, Some things are not worth worrying about. If you can't change it, it's not worth worrying about, stressing yourself out about it. Get your sleep. Eat well. And as you said, eat whatever you want to eat. Just make sure you're working out to, balance the calories and the carbs and stuff. So thank you for that, Andy. And my last question on this topic is, what is one small daily habit that can make a difference in overall health? Just one small daily habit.
There's lots, but going back to mindset, so I could talk about starting the day with electrolyte boost, the first supplement I've been excited about in years. A big shout out to Gary Kleinman, CEO of Electrolyte Boost and podcast guest. But I'm going to do something more fundamental. That goes back to my mindset, is to pattern interrupt any anger and negative self-talk. That's going to pay dividends in spades above and beyond anything else that I could possibly tell you. And as you know, I gave a speech about this recently, which Calvin, which you saw, is every time you get negative self-talk, every time you have an angry memory, first you need to just pattern interrupt, because it just becomes like a broken record that just plays whether you're aware of it or not, like scratching your nose or biting your nails. So you need to pattern interrupt, and you need to ask yourself, is this memory serving me? Is this negative self-talk serving me? And of course, the answer is no. It's a rhetorical question. It never serves you. And then for that angry memory, for that negative self-talk, you need to ask yourself, what did you learn from this experience? And then finally, you need to ask yourself, why am I grateful? So it could be, why am I so stupid? Why did cousin Johnny steal the last piece of bacon? Whatever. Pattern interrupt. Ask why you're grateful. Ask what you learned from the experience, and then ask why you're grateful for the experience. And that's going to pay dividends above and beyond any tips or tricks I could tell you. But yeah, you should start your day with electrolyte boost, electrolytes too.
Okay. Thank you for that. And that's what I call speaking life into your body, your mind, and your mission. So we will be right back. We're going to take a short break. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm Calvin Gibbs, and we'll be right back in 60 seconds to finish up with this talk with Andy Feltovich. Hi, this is Calvin Gibbs with Born to Speak to You TV, and here's your Born to Rise tip for today. You're not stuck. You're just committed to certain patterns of behavior that in the past may have worked for you. But guess what? You've grown past those patterns of behavior. Now they're more harmful than they are helpful. And the reason that you can't move forward is because you keep applying an old formula to a new level in your life. That old formula, that is for where you were. But you've moved on to another level. And it's time to have a new formula, a new solution. So change the formula and get a different result. If you keep doing what you did when you were there, it's not going to work out. You've moved on to another level, change the formula, and step into your purpose. You were born to rise.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs. And man, we've had a great conversation with Andy Feltovich on the topic of this episode is check yourself. Don't wreck yourself. Men's health over 40. And Andy, I got a last question for you before we start winding down. Is there a polite way to ask or to tell your body, hey, could you not break down just yet? Is there a polite way to say that to your body? Hey, could you not fall apart just yet?
Well, that I'm glad you asked that question, because that gets back to what we were talking about previously. I think you just need to rephrase that question. And
Mhm.
this came from a good friend of mine. His name is Rex, and I always used to joke about how I'm a arthritic 40-year-old guy, and he said, don't say that. Say you're something else, something positive. So ask, instead of asking your body why it's going to break down, ask it why it's going to do the remarkable things that you need it to do, and your mind will, and your body will find a way to catch up with your mind. It's the same thing with your mindset and anything, your finances. Instead of saying why uh, why are you so broke, say, hey mind, um, how are we going to enjoy all the money that we make? It's in your brain, in your the universe, your body. It'll catch up to your mindset. That's just the way that energy and karma, or whatever you want to call it, works. So I would say, just rephrase the question.
Okay, okay. I asked that question because I was listening to Joel Osteen from Lakewood Church, the pastor there in Texas. And today, the episode that was playing was about speaking life into yourself. When you say, "Oh, um, I'm, I got a pain in my back," you're saying that you're inviting that pain to be there. When you say, could you not fall apart yet? Could just yet, you're talking to your body. You should be saying to your body, you feel good. I feel good. Body, you're going to get me through another 20, 30, 40 years, and we're going to have a good time together. You should be positive about it. And that's just what you just got finished saying. So my last question for you, my very last question, this is more of a observance that I've seen at the gym I go to. I still dabble in basketball. I can't run as fast as I used to, but I still got my jump shot. So tell me why every man thinks he's still got his 25-year-old jump shot until he tried to play basketball with younger guys.
So as much as we talk about um, mindset, there are some. The mindset does occasionally collide with some fundamental laws of the universe, and one of them is the fundamental theorem of aging. Nothing gets better with age. So, yeah, we're going to fight him, but in the end, Father Time always loses. And this is something that I talk with my mom about. We mentioned my father's passing, the different seasons of life, and you just need to embrace the season of life that you're in. And when you have can't reconcile uh, your wants and desires with the season of life that God's put you in, you're going to have issues. So yes, do what you can. Yes, keep, to bring back that train analogy. Keep progressing to whichever train station that you want to go, but just accept the fundamental laws of physics and physiology in the universe, that depending on how old you are, which season of life you're in, that train just might go a lot slower than you want it to.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes your body may say to you, don't do that.
And, and you either listen to it, or you end up with cool scars and medical bills.
That's right. There's always consequences. So, Andy, I want to thank you very much for being our guest today. For our viewers, if they want to reach you, how can they get in contact with you?
Yes. So you can visit my website, my landing page, executivetransformation.com. If you're a 40 plus year old male executive, entrepreneur, senior professional, it's a no brainer. You get my brain, you get my ears for 30 minutes. We can talk about your health and performance, get you pointed in the right direction. Also, you can email me with any questions. It's long but easy to remember. Andy Feltovich at andyfeltovich.com. And I answer all emails personally. Uh, and also, those consultations are with me personally, founder and CEO of Feltovich Fit. I don't schlep you off on one of my lieutenants. You deal with me directly.
All right. Thank you very much. And as the motto of this episode, I believe that the viewers should speak life into the man that you're still becoming because we're all still evolving. We're going through different seasons. We're still a man, but maybe not the man we was yesterday or not the man we're going to be tomorrow, but we're still evolving. So, Andy, thank you very much for being our guest. And we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. This is Born to Speak to You TV, and we'll be back in 60 minutes, 60 seconds, not 60 minutes. Thank
Thank,
you.
thank you, Calvin. God bless. God bless you all.
And we are back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs. And man, what a wonderful conversation we just had with Andy Feltovich. And I just want to tell a little story. I recently just went through 4 weeks of physical therapy. I should say that earlier in my life, due to a football injury, I broke my left hip and I had pins in it. And as you get older, the pins got fused to the bone. It became arthritic. I had to get a hip replacement. So just moving on, 15 years later or so, I started noticing my right hip was hurting. It was, this is not the hip I got replaced, but it was starting to hurt. And I went to the doctor to get it checked out. The doctor said, you're fine. You just need to go through some physical therapy and go through some stretching exercises to open up your hips. So I spent the last month in physical therapy 3 times a week, learning how to stretch all parts of my body and uh, open up my hips, how to keep my balance, and just be a stronger person going into the next decade of my life. And I must say, it has made a tremendous impact on me just by stretching all parts of my body, especially my legs, my hips, my back, shoulders, and everything. I now can run up and down my steps again. The pain that I was feeling, it's totally gone. As one of my doctors told me recently, this was a couple years ago, he's like, Calvin, you're getting older now. And as you get older, there's three R's that you have to keep in mind. Sometimes things in your body are going to have to be replaced. Sometimes things in your body is going to have to be repaired. And then some things in your body is going to have to be removed. And I never forgot that. So for all the men out there, take care of yourself. Go get your annual exams. Do what the doctor says. Eat right. Work out smart. Don't hurt yourself. Enjoy life. Be conscious. Be mindful of what you're doing, how you're doing it. Enjoy life. Maybe you want to take up some kind of Tai Chi, yoga, maybe, just to stretch your body, and it will make a big difference in your life. If you'd like to reach me or see other episodes of Born to Speak to You TV, just scan the QR code that's in the corner of your screen, and that will take you to my YouTube page where you can see all episodes of Born to Speak to You TV. You can interact with me there. You can send me comments, questions, or maybe there's something that you would like to see on the show. So please subscribe, and thank you very much for watching this episode. Again, I want to thank my guest, Andy Feltovich. I want to thank DFN Broadcast Studios for this opportunity to have this show. And as always, I'm Calvin Gibbs, and our motto is, let's speak life into the moments that matter. And I'll see you at the next episode.
Of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold. Now he walks in purpose, pure and true. He was born to speak to you. He's got that rhythm in his truth, that fire in his flow, speaking life into the moment, watch it grow. Every phrase, every beat, a breakthrough cue. Yeah, he was born to speak to you. Let